Chuck, I don't have anything specifically done for today,
I hate the lighting.
but I wanted to talk a little bit about the market itself and what's going on in real estate as far as activity. So, I've got a report up, and I did 5 mile radius from Chesterfield Township. I just looked at it, 5 miles. That'll include Hamilton, because Chesterfield borders Hamilton. That'll go into Mansfield, Bordentown, definitely Bordentown City. And in any given week, in the past month, there have only been, think about what I'm saying, 160 appointments scheduled for that whole area. That's 10 miles. That's thousands and thousands of houses.
Appointments, you said?
That's it.
What does that
So
mean?
it's not even sales, that's
That's
just
just
appointments.
appointments.
That is a showing?
That's a showing. So, out of a 5 mile radius from Chesterfield going in, all of Mansfield, North Hanover, Hamilton Township, Mercer County,
Crossroads.
Bordentown City, you might even get into Florence if that, I don't have a map, it might even touch into Florence, or certainly parts of Florence, that's for sure. Only 167, it's about an average per week.
What would a norm be?
4, 5,
You say 500,
Showings a month?
500.
Oh, okay. So it's about a third.
Yeah, we're about a third. We're about a third to a half right now. So the volume is down because obviously the listings are down, but I think the volume is down. We were just talking to an attorney who does a lot of this stuff too. He's seeing the same thing. The volume is just down because people don't have the disposable income. Because what Julia has said many times is that most of her sales, larger portion than ever before, have been cash. Or very serious money down, cash. People coming to the table, that's it. Or large money down. I think those wells are starting to run dry. When the wells start to run dry, and people have to rely on, like I have a young couple, they've worked really hard, they're doing for their first house, they've saved $30,000. Now, when I first started, I don't want to go back that far, but even in 2020, whatever, $30,000 in savings was a good number.
Mhm.
It was a very reasonable, and it wasn't great, but it was a very good number to buy a decent house. And back in 2000, the prices for a house, I mean, that's a solid 10% down. Now $30,000 is like, we don't even want to bid. We got other people. That's starting to change. Starting. Takes time. Real estate moves glacially. It goes up fast and it goes down very slow.
Spoke to another real estate agent in the area, who I don't deal with too, once in a while I get some stuff. She said the only reason why the housing market around here isn't going down like the rest of the country is going down, and that it's pretty stable at the moment right now, is because the inventory is so low.
That's correct.
I just found out the same house as mine in my neighborhood on the same street, 1, 2, 4
Smaller.
houses down, just went for $720,000.
And it didn't have the additions that
Yeah.
the extra bedroom, the extra
We
bathroom.
were like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So obviously the value is still going up, but inventory is so low.
When somebody has to buy, they've moved in, they have to own a home. And they have wealth. They have some saved wealth, whether the wealth comes from the fact that they've sold their home and there's money sitting in an account, you know what I mean? Or they will go to closing and have that cash, or whether it's just their own savings. We've gotten to a point where we've broken I think the word is dissonance, but we've broken the barrier, that wall that says, I'm not spending that much for a house. No, honey, you have to spend, we have a family here, you have to spend the money. Okay, we spend the money. We've broken that back of that resistance, if you will.
I was talking to a mortgage broker last week, and I was remembering your conversation that you had a couple weeks ago saying that I do think the prices are going to adjust and it's going to go down. He completely he's like, I don't see this change. He goes, I think in the future it's gonna be 5% increase. It's not like it's been, but he goes, math just doesn't tell me that it's ever gonna go down.
See, I don't know how long he's been in the business. I don't know.
Over
the
20
person.
years.
Okay. You know, I have seen nothing but cycles in real estate. You know, the cycles do not work. We have a rise, we have a fall, right, to a level, right? We have the level, and then we have a rise and a fall. It doesn't go back to that level. And we have a rise and a fall, and you know what I mean? It's a little higher. So, what we don't have is a consistent. There's no way that the economics of this country can handle a consistent price increase. And one of the things he's got to look at is money supply. I talk about money supply with friends regularly. We are below. Money supply is all the money in savings, all the money in, you know, in CDs of 100,000 or less, 100,000 or more, I forget which one it is. I mean, but it's real savings, real money that's accessible more quickly in the bank, right? It has dropped. It went way up during COVID, way. Like the chart just goes like this. And it's plummeted down below 2019, 2018, 2017. It's below.
And why is that?
Because people got into a habit. They got all this money from the federal government. They saved all this money from not commuting to work. Now they start spending it. Honey, let's put an addition on the house. Come on, contractors, right? We're putting money into houses like crazy. We're spending money on everything. We weren't going on vacations. But now everybody's going on, oh my God, the cruise lines, you try and take a cruise, it's double the price. You know? So people are spending money like drunken sailors.
Well, not only that, they have to spend more money now because everything costs at least double.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, food alone, you go to the grocery store now, and I would always wonder, okay, let's say, what's my bill gonna be? Is it gonna be 200? Is it gonna be 400? Like, you can go in and not fill your cart and spend close to $400.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you're like looking at it going,
How did I do that?
what happened?
Does that include the goat chow?
No.
So what I'm trying to say is there are some people, obviously, there are some people who saved during this time and still have money in the bank. I'm not saying that no one.
Well.
I'm saying the federal government money supply,
Yeah.
which is, we look at everybody, and this is the chart of what's happening with everybody, is low. People don't have money in the bank. They don't have money in savings. They don't have money in CDs. They wiped it all out.
And credit card debt, is that right?
Credit card
Yeah.
debt is through the roof.
What does that mean, Ralph? I mean, obviously, for the real estate market.
It means that,
Sounds like they're not.
well, when somebody wants to buy a home, you have to have money in the bank and low debt, right, in order to qualify. Because you're generally getting a mortgage, which you go through, right? The same thing, right? You have to have money, savings, good credit, and you can't have high debt. We happen to be at a time right now where generations, the current youngest generation, has given up on getting a house. Given up.
Oh, okay.
And they are spending their money to the extreme. Bigger cars, whatever it is, I mean, however they're spending their money, right? They're spending their money. And they do not have a plan, like when I was a kid, I had a plan to buy a house. It was a normal plan. I wasn't abnormal, I was very normal. Now young people don't.
All these young people, I'll get in a house where they're tenants, and I'm like, why are you renting this house? Oh, well, you gotta really think about it. By the time I paid for this, paid for maintenance, paid for taxes, paid for this, I see no purpose of ever buying a home.
That's right.
I mean, have we gotten to that
Yeah,
point?
we
That
have.
the house.
And that will change, the paradigm will change, but the paradigm, the thought, that thought, foundational thought, will change. But we have to see a radical change for that to happen. remember one thing, and your mortgage person may not be thinking of this. I'll stand on my opinion. That's what I'm doing. I'm standing on my opinion. When right now there's a real backlog, like there's a dam, psychological dam, standing in the way of people selling their homes. It's a financial dam, right? I can't sell my home because I can't buy another one, because I can't afford to move from a 3% mortgage to a 7% mortgage, right? For those people with mortgages.
Is that what you're saying?
That's why a lot of the deals that Julia's doing are cash, because it goes cash to cash. Who the hell cares? I don't give a shit. Right? Steve wants to buy a house, he's gonna buy it in cash. He's not gonna buy it with a mortgage,
I am,
right?
I am.
So-
As soon as you get me $1 million,
There you go.
I'm there.
So,
And
but,
they're getting close.
but what I'm saying is, when you have to look at it from the point of view of a mortgage, people getting a mortgage, the current generation isn't buying, the youngest generation, they're just, they literally are. They went through 2007 with their parents, they were young, but they solved stress. 2009, 2010, people lost their homes, people were foreclosed on, it was a very stressful period. But like, why would I wanna go through that? Right? So we have to go through that generation, go to the next generation, and then they'll be wanting a house.
So you don't think that generation will change their mind? It's just that that's gonna be their mindset?
I think if they do change their mind, it's gonna take them 10 years to wipe out their debt and save them money.
And in that theory, and because we just had this discussion with our son, he is that generation. His theory is, why would I buy a house at that point? Because then I'm gonna have to take care of my parents. I might as well just stay in the house I'm in and
But
luckily
is he
we have the
paying-
room.
Is he paying real-time money? Is he paying you what he would pay for renting a place?
No.
Is he paying you
No.
electric? Does he pay you? So these kids today
Are
it's very
spoiled
easy
rotten.
to stay in the house with the parents. I think that's what's destroying the whole thing for everybody, because it's easy for him to stay home with mommy and daddy.
Oh, it's not easy.
Well, the whole
not-
concept
it
of
is
the
easy.
helicopter parent, I know you wanna talk
It's
about
not,
it.
it is.
I was gonna say, so I have two friends in very different situations, one with kids and one without kids type of thing, who are both looking to downsize from what they have. The one have a property similar to Cynthia and Mark, where they bought all the way out in Bud Lake, and they're like, well, it's massive, but with 4 people, it's a little excessive. And they want to downsize to something that the other couple are in, which maybe would have been $250,000 prior to 2019 type of prices, where it's only got to be like the 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom type of thing, but not all the large basement and stuff.
Right.
And my other friends, they're in that small property and they're looking to go to renting because the job has moved, and they're like, okay, I can get a little closer. I'm going to save on all the repairs and all the hard work type of thing. They're not going to have to deal with the weekly mowing the lawn, all the process stuff. Plus, it's just going to be something they don't see any value coming in. They don't think the value of the home is going to get any higher, so they want to sell that so they have that extra income, pay off all the debts type of thing, and then just work from the rental property that's saving on
The point I don't
driving, all
understand
that
is
stuff.
how do
Yeah.
these kids don't think about it. I mean, you've been in real estate for a long time. Has there been a time over a 20-year period that the real estate value hasn't increased?
Over time? No.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
But, and I think that historically, Chris's friends may be right. From a historic perspective, we are at a peak. We don't know where the peak ends. We don't know. They could buy today and be 50,000 in equity tomorrow. I don't know. It's a craziness. I can tell you over the protracted time, unknown, right? That I think they're right, that they buy today, they may not have as great an investment in years to come with that house, right? If they bought Steve's house today for $500,000,
1.2 million.
yeah, it always keeps going up, from $500,000, and they lived in it, and they're thinking, oh, I put new this on, or I fixed the electric, or I did this, or I did that. That's all part of homeownership. It is what it is, but it's your house, your house, right? it may only be worth $425 down the road when they wanna go sell it. Now, if they hold it and they live there their life, I would venture to say that history tells us that they'll probably benefit. And they will benefit because, look, I'll use myself as an example, right? Julie and I, we're paying about $1,100 a month for a mortgage. On a house in Bordentown's worth over maybe $450, whatever, okay? Paying $1,100, principal, interest, taxes, insurance. Where do you give rent that way? Where are you gonna do it? So eventually what happens is rent grows, mortgage payments stay, they increase only slightly because they increase with taxes and insurance. They don't increase with the P&I, right? So only components increase. So they increase slowly, but rents increase more rapidly. And pretty soon they're backwards. And they don't see that curve. That's the difference that makes the difference, right?
Yeah.
Whereas when I bought the house, I bought my house in '88. Single guy, here's a house. First of all, I tore the house apart, I gutted it. I didn't even know what I was doing, there was a lot of stress. I put the house back together again. It took me 2 years to do this. I actually had a roommate living in there, and I finished one room and he paid me a couple $100 a month just to help carry it. But when I did that, rents might have been $600. So you might have said, oh, I can rent, it's easier. It's so much easier to rent. Well, yeah, look at me. You know, I'm broke all the time. I'm working all the time. I'm stressed. Sometimes I'm sitting in the corner saying, shit, what am I doing? Right? But now I'm at a point where I have a real investment. I have $1,100 a month. And for a house of that size, I don't even know. I mean, I got a 1,400, 1,350, whatever it is, square foot house in Bordentown in generally very good condition. What's it gonna rent for? I'm seeing one bedrooms renting for 19, 18, 17.
Yep.
Yep.
One bedrooms.
I'm
Right.
seeing a room rent for $800 a
Right.
month.
Mhm.
So time is the factor that they're not considering.
Yeah, but they're also looking at it as, especially the ones without the kids. We're approaching 40. We're still active and able to do things, but we can't afford to do some of the things that are fun and active things. And our worry is that we're going to get to 60, 70, 80, not be physically able to do anything that we're financially stable at.
Right.
And then it becomes, did we not enjoy the time efforts of living as opposed to the cost of living?
Right.
And
No,
kind of
I
putting
agree.
that
I
value
gave
of
up-
living
I
versus the
gave
cost
up
of
some of
living.
that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
gave-
Yeah,
I
and
gave
so
up
some of
I
them
gave up
fear
some
that
of
to
the
some
enjoyment of
degree.
it
Yeah.
That I do it.
Yeah.
I like skiing. I haven't skied in years.
But yeah, it's definitely the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
And you only live once. Those
Yeah.
two things are what's driving the younger generation
Yeah.
to just spend money.
Especially if there's no plan for kids
that's
type of
what's-
thing. We don't
Yeah, but
have
they
to.
spend
We're not
$6 3
thinking.
times a day on
But
coffee.
that's what's driving up renting.
They could have
rental
a house.
But yes, yeah.
If
it
they
also
had
drives
That's
home
why
rent.
rent's the
mommy,
price for
daddy,
artificial
and they
intelligence.
have
What did he
Yeah.
do?
that money.
What'd you say?
They spend $6 a day, 3 times a day on coffee.
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that? They gotta learn how to make it themselves at home.
Well,
Take that other
here's-
$15 and
Bank it.
Here's
bank
a-
it.
a-
What's $15 a day times?
Exactly.
$300
Yeah.
a
Now,
day.
Times
here's-
the end
here's
of
a
the year.
prime
They'll
example.
have their house at 30 years old, but they're never gonna have that as long as they can,
I
you know.
tried to convince both my daughter and her boyfriend, give me $25 a week for a long time,
She's spending time there.
and then you could save. And now they have to save due to some changes in their lifestyle, and they're giving me
No, I know, but
a week,
you have a house too.
$100, $200.
Mhm.
When I'm like, before you couldn't give me $25, now you're giving me all this.
Because emotionally they can give it to you.
Yes,
It's
now
not
they
that
can.
physically couldn't
No,
give it
but
to
now
or
you're right.
financially couldn't give it.
They can, because now they have no choice.
Right. Choice, no choice makes the decision.
Exactly.
Nobody was more spoiled than me, and if they would have made me, if my grandmother and my grandfather, my mother, if they had stopped enabling me to go to casinos and spend money on this and buy Cadillacs and all this shit, I could have had my $1 million home and the whole thing. I was totally misguided by these people because they did not direct me. If they died, all of them died 20 years ago, I would have been left in a lurch. You have to set your kids up so that they can depend on themselves you guys drop dead tomorrow, your kids should be financially stable and able to go out.
By their own
or
effort,
finish
not
your
by your
mortgage Or
effort.
pay your
Not
taxes.
by
And
your
there's-
effort.
Because that's just how it has to be.
We have a young
Well,
lady.
you've done nothing for
I'm
them.
managing a property, I have a young lady that inherited $100,000, right?
When?
$100,000. And she thinks she's rich.
Oh.
She thinks she's got money.
You say, I spent that in a month.
Well, the first time in her life she has that kind of.
But
Right.
see, that's the aspect of, you have parents today, like, our kids still live with us. Do they pay us what they should? No. But they also do things at the house. They also understand that $1,000 is not a lot of money.
No,
They have a concept of what money is, they have a concept of what they're gonna need, but as a parent, I can make their life easier in these times, and I don't care how long they live with us.
so close off
Yeah.
this discussion,
How many kids,
if we
young
have,
kids are buying a house? Like, how many 30-year-olds?
Julia can answer that better than
The challenge is, first-time homebuyers
almost zero.
basically have no chance because they're competing against people who have cash, 50% down, 20% down, and then first-time homebuyers. If I'm
Mostly older people.
if I'm a seller, it's gonna be cash, it's gonna be 50, I'm gonna look at these three people long before I look at the first-time home buyer as
Now,
my potential.
I just sold
buyer.
14 Thompson Street, and we got no cash offers. We were on the market for 2 weeks. We got no cash offers, we got no 50% down, but we got 20% down. All right?
Thompson Street was on the market for 2 weeks. Not one day like they normally are.
No, it was one week.
We
I'm
are in,
sorry, 1 week.
we're in a problem, because if Thompson Street takes a week to sell, there's a problem.
Well, I just spoke to
There's a
someone
waiting list for
yesterday,
Thompson Street.
they wanna have, an AC
And that wasn't a bad
maintenance.
house,
It was my
They-
house.
nice house.
They want an AC and a
Needed
heat
light
maintenance
outlet.
done because
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
selling their house.
Okay.
And I had to explain things to them, but I also asked them if they have a realtor, and they do. But they expect, because they're in Bordentown Township, in a townhome, they expect their house to sell within like a week.
Mhm.
And it probably will.
Yeah, but I want you to picture something, right? So we have all these older people, myself, right? We have all these older people out there who own houses. They're not selling, right? They're hunkering down, right? We don't know what to do, things are so expensive, blah, blah, blah. One way or another, those houses are selling. Death, disability, or they finally bite the bullet and they say, we're gonna retire in Arizona, wherever, okay? When those houses come on the market, if they come on the market in more bulk than what we're seeing, the youngest generation isn't there to pick them up. They're not ready. They're
They're not
just not
qualified.
ready. It's fear of missing out, right? So they're not ready. They don't have $80,000 in the bank sitting there saying, I wanna buy a house, right? So what happens when those houses come on the market and the purchasers aren't there?
So that's what you see.
Yeah. We have fear of missing out, right? And that's truly, that says a lot about the generation. I do not want to miss out on activities, not on owning a home. No, that's not the fear that they're missing out on.
Owning a home is not Instagrammable.
They're missing out on rock climbing and mountain climbing and
Travel.
whatever, travel.
Just
and
experiences. yeah.
The other thing is, these kids today don't want to be uncomfortable. Personally, I like being uncomfortable, because the more uncomfortable I am as a business owner, the more I know I gotta go out and bust my ass
That's
and go
correct.
find more jobs. These kids today don't wanna do that.
No,
They want it handed to them.
so.
Well, there's comfort
we
and there's
have-
locked in. If I own a property, I have to find a job within that area. But if I rent, I can take a job tomorrow out in California where jobs are, or there's a lot of movement to like Texas type of thing because there's jobs and industry out
Yeah,
there.
but I can
That's
do
'cause
that
they
too
own
by
But the
renting my
industry
house.
everything
is
But I can do that-
California.
But I can do
Doesn't
that
F
too by
Newsom
renting
up.
my house and just having a friend manage it locally, or
Yeah,
having a company
yeah.
manage it locally. Right? I can do that. I can leave tomorrow. I just, boop, house is rented, done.
You know where the old mentality is?
And by the way,
my
I get a
mom-
check in the mail.
Yeah.
My mom is
Right?
79, but my brother sold his house, they bought an RV, they travel. Now, he parks it on his daughter's property, and then can use the house and all, but mostly that's what they did it for. And my mother was hysterical that he sold his house and gave him I said, Mom, it's none of your business. That's really what it boiled down to. Because she kept hounding him, and she said, you don't understand, you need the security, you need a home, you needed this, and they're just in a totally different mindset.
Yeah, totally different mindset.
And they just wanna travel in this RV, and they wanna go. They bought a $500,000 RV, they're all,
Well, we-
but they have nowhere to, I
Look
guess
at-
what
look
she's
at Ren
saying,
in
there's
his
nowhere
RV.
to
I
meet
mean,
yourself.
we had a
you know?
member of this group, Ren, that had a $500,000 RV, has a $500,000 RV. He's got some cash in the bank, and, you know, he semi-retired from his business, and he's traveling. He's just getting out there and traveling, right? So, anyway, what I think is, I get your friend, the mortgage person, I get it, I do, but there's no buyers in bulk. There's buyers for a limited supply. They're fighting for a limit. It's an artificial market. I got 25% of the sales that I should have, and I got 20% or whatever of the buyers. The rest of the 80% or 75% are missing from the equation and from that conversation. When that starts opening back up again, and it has to, because die from the sales perspective, rents keep rising on the other side, and they're just going from like, it opens up eventually. The youngest generations are not ready to buy.
Do you feel that the youngest generation thinks that they've been cast off?
Yeah,
Not-
I think they'll
we
say
really
that.
screwed it up for them, and
Yeah, I think they'd say that.
I find them to be very intelligent, you know.
No, just as intelligent as any generation, and just as good a people as any generation, there's no doubt about it, just that their experiences were tainted.
Yeah.
We have a neighbor selling her fifth wheel, $70,000. The person who's buying it is a young person in college who, at the end of the summer, will be able to afford to buy it and just live in it. That's her outlet of, I'm not buying a house, I'm not ready, I'm buying this fifth wheel and I'm gonna live in it.
Something that's gonna depreciate. in value, not something
$70,000
that's
to
gonna
do that.
appreciate.
Metal rusts, you're gonna be putting it together in patchwork over time. I mean, it's not a 30-year item.
No,
It's certainly not a 40-year item. It just doesn't work.
but she's got the money to do that as opposed to thinking, take that 70,000, put it on a house.
Right.
But that 70 might not be affordable for a house, if he's saying this person.
Well, I mean,
Well,
it
you
depends
know,
where
that's the
you
other
wanna
thing,
go.
too.
Depends on the
Yeah,
size of the
yeah.
house,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That 70,000 would have certainly
Yeah,
bought
small
the house I
houses
just
are
sold
hard
on
to
Thompson
find,
Street.
yeah.
Or a
Right.
condo.
Or a condo or something like that, you know, so.
But the challenge is, you have $70,000 and you have a hard time buying something.
Mhm.
Like, that's what's,
Yes.
I think that's what's defeating. People start going out and looking at properties and it's like, wait, I have $70,000 and you mean I can't buy
Afford
what I
this?
wanna
Yeah.
buy?
Yeah.
And I know this can be experiences. Like personally, I lost money owning a home, but I've always made money on other investments type
Right.
of thing. So I, like you were saying about like not being able to save type of thing. All my dollars go into the investment before I even see them. So I know my budget.
Right.
I don't think about those investments at all, but I know they make money type of thing. Owning the home, it's not that it's not a goal, but it's at the same time, I only see a cost to it, not an investment to it, and that's the disconnect: the cost versus investment.
Right.
But look at it just on one little piece, I'll close off, I will. Here I am at $1,100 a month now.
Yeah.
I'm 67. You'd be at $2,600 a month to rent my house.
Yeah.
Easy.
Easy.
But there is a famous movie called The Money Pit.
Man, no. I
that
mean, Julia and I are always putting money in the house, don't get me wrong, we're stopping projects, you know, we have all these projects laid out. But that's not the point. The thing is, if I were to just say, hey, listen, I'm injured, I can't work, I have to come up with $1,100. What do you have to come up with?
Yeah.
Right, and your asset, it's appreciating, it's eventually gonna be paid off, as opposed to rent goes on
On the other hand,
forever.
though, Tim, if you really look at appreciation of a house, and I know I gotta get
Yeah,
done
we
with
gotta
this.
get done.
By the time you pay taxes, by the time you pay maintenance, new roof, all that kind of stuff, it's probably not the best investment you could probably have done with your money, looking at it on that point of view, because by the time you pay all that, really, you paid it, and that's what you're
Yeah,
getting back.
but it may not be a pure investment, but consider this, I'm gonna rent the same house.
100% agree with you.
There is no gain in it. The only gain for a renter is if prices are falling for the real estate. Because now they don't own the real estate, they're just renting it. That's the only time. When the market's going up, the renters are losing. When the market is stable, the renter's losing. Only when the market is going down does the renter gain.
I
So
do
they only have
understand.
1/3 of the equation.
There's different perspectives. There are some people who say you should never consider your house an asset, it's a liability, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And it
If you-
depends on the
if
time.
you look economically at the money people spend to live, because you have to spend money to live unless you're living with your parents, right? You have to spend money to live. Rent accumulates over decades of rent,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
I guess right now, the 1,100, it makes complete sense compared to what it would cost you to rent it. But when you bought the house, you probably could have rented that house for $500 a month.
mhm.
So at that time, it was.
No, it's a long-term, it's a long-term goal.
Yeah,
All right,
thanks, Rob.